Yes. Hi, guys. Hey, how's everyone doing? Great. Woo, 9:30.
Woo.
Love it.
Let's talk cats.
Let's talk cats. We actually have a really fun presentation, and I know you guys are going to love the creative examples that we have here, too. But as Lisa just mentioned, we have Meow Mix, which is a more classic legacy brand. But we give it a little bit of a refresh, and we really brought cultural relevance to the brand. So let's get into it. We were already introduced, but this is us. This is us. We love our headshots. Okay.
Yeah, and I think one thing to note, too, before we dig into what Meow Mix is Zenith and Smucker have been working together for over 5 years now as a part of Publicis' Power of One model, and it's been really fun. And obviously, we're here today to talk about Meow Mix, but Smucker is home to brands like Milk-Bone and Pepperoni that I work on, but also, and our namesake Jolly, of course, too, but also beloved brands like Uncrustables, Folgers, Jif, and we recently acquired Hostess. So Twinkies and Ding Dongs are now part of our portfolio, which is really fun. So a little bit more about Meow Mix. First of all, how many of you have a cat, have had a cat, love cats? Don't be shy. Awesome. Okay. So some of you may know this a little bit about our brand already, but Meow Mix is the only one cats ask for by name, and it's that for so many different reasons. First, it's been around for over 50 years. We were founded in the 70s. It's had a storied past of who's owned it. Started with Purina, then Del Monte, then private equity. But Smucker's been the keeper of the keys for the past 10 years, and it's so fun to work on this brand. But throughout its history, it's been a top brand within the dry cat food category. Cats really love it. It has different textures, different flavors, and for all the people that raise their hands about cats, you know they're finicky. They decide on the fly when they don't like their food anymore, right? So you're constantly trying to look for new varieties to keep them entertained. In addition to our flavor varieties, we're also really known for our iconic jingle, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Actually just read a roundup of things turning 50 this year. It's the same year that the Post-it note, the barcode, and Dayquil was also came out that year. So it's a big year in terms of innovations and different things we use every day. But with that jingle, we've used it throughout our campaign history in and out of time. And it's even been featured in different cultural moments, like Dr. Evil singing it in an Austin Powers movie once.
So when Publicis won the business in 2019, leading up to that, the Smuckers team for Meow Mix wasn't really using the iconic jingle, but we wanted to really bring it back, but bring it back in a different way. So we did the remix campaign, Meow Mix, remix, you guys get it. And we tapped into different cat personalities and genres, which is super fun, and we really brought it into today's genre. So they each have different personalities. There's Sweet Teddy Pepperpaws, who's our jazz artist, Endless Hiss, which is our metal band. So we created different social and videos for each of these different personalities. Then in 2020, Meow Mix set its single-year sales record for the brand, and this is also during a time when a lot of brands were dealing with supply chain issues. In 2021, we won the Effie Award for the Remix Creative. Then later that year, we had a launch of new products, so we expanded Remix with DJ House Cat, which I think you guys all know what genre that is, which was another great iteration. In 2022, and we're going to talk about this later, but we really needed to lean into a younger audience and really connect with Gen Z and millennials more. So Remix was a great basis to do that. The creative was already there. Consumers were really interested in it, but we went into gaming a little bit more to really lean into the space to connect with those consumers, but also to lean into music as well, since music and gaming are intrinsically linked. So on the next slide, we have the creative Leyna, which is one of our original 2019 remix artists, who is a pop queen.
Yes.
still the only one cats ask for by name.
So she's very like Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift inspired. And we actually hired Joseph Kahn, who directed a lot of Taylor's 1989 music videos, to do this spot. So we really committed to the fact that she was a true pop diva and needed the best of the best to create the spot, which was really fun. And obviously, as Leyna mentioned, we've had a ton of creative media success through this campaign, but also it drove a lot of business results. So we knew we wanted to continue this campaign for the foreseeable future. It has so many legs where we can navigate into different music genres. But last year, our brand team came to us with a new challenge. We've been so focused on dry cat food, but they really saw a need for our wet food business to see more support in a couple of different ways. So all the cat parents in the audience, and as I mentioned before, know that it's not just the flavors that cats want, they want different textures. And dry food and wet food are constantly intermixed, or a cat just eats wet food, just eats dry food. So there's a really big need for us to be strong in both categories. But our wet food, transparently, wasn't really hitting the mark. So our brand team worked with innovation, research and development to improve the formula, update the packaging to make sure they were meeting demands of the category. And they also challenged us with an awareness gap. We've clearly been focusing on dry cat food over the last, 49 years, and hadn't really been leveraging wet within our mix. Also, I know I shortened it to wet and it sounds weird, so I apologize, but I think Naomi probably is the only other one in the audience that doesn't think that's weird. But yeah, so we knew we had an awareness gap on wet, but that it was really critical for us to not only ensure that all wet cat food buyers knew about us, but our dry cat food buyers knew that we had a wet offering for them. And this was also a really interesting time within the cat ownership space. As so many people throughout the pandemic did, they adopted pets, brought them into their lives. And interestingly enough, through that adoption spike that we saw during the pandemic, there's actually more cats than dogs in the US right now. More people own cats. And with that, it's really changed the dynamic of who we're reaching out to. Cat parents are younger, they're more urban, they have more nuances to what they're looking for. So that provided us with a really great challenge of how we wanted to connect with them and rethink how we wanted to market the brand. So creatively, we met that challenge in a couple of different ways. First and foremost, we wanted to make sure that the music genre we picked for this next round of remix would really meet that newer, younger cat parent audience that we're reaching after. So we worked with our audio partner Spotify to look at music consumption habits to say, where is this target audience over-indexing? And we found that over 18% over-index of 90s and 2000s boy band music. And as Tim from Chili's mentioned yesterday, like 90s nostalgia is huge right now in general within culture, but knowing that the over propensity within this audience was so strong, we were like, we have to do it. And throughout the campaign, to date, we've definitely left it be a full cat universe. We haven't had any humans interact, but we wanted to make sure this campaign was breakthrough to really boost that awareness. So we thought it would be, how ideal would it be if we could get a boy bander to make a cameo in this campaign? And we were very fortunate that JC Chasez from NSYNC was like, yeah, that sounds like really fun. I would love to dance with cats. So we worked with him not only on the TV spot, you can hear his voice on the jingle, which we'll hear in a bit, and he filmed a ton of really great social first content for us as well. So hence why I'm here to help speak to that, which was really fantastic because it provided us with a 360 approach, right? So these cat parents that are always on dual screens, maybe are only watching linear for those like big tentpole moments, like an award show, for example. They can get the full experience, really see that creative, and also give fans of JC something to get excited about. He is somewhat cat-like, right? Like he's a little recluse. He's not always in the public eye. So people were really excited that he was back and back with a vengeance. So without further ado, we'll show you our newest song. I think it's, what is it called? Wet Your Whiskers, with the boy band Tabby 5 featuring JC Chasez.
Meow, 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 meow.
Cats ask for by name.
Thanks, yeah. That was a fun one. And luckily, Leyna and I were good about not. I usually am like doing the paw dance that he does.
So Megan just talked about the 360 kind of concept for this creative, and we really did take it across a number of channels. We leveraged the video across all video channels, linear, OLV, CTV. Social as well as audio. We also used like static images across display and social as well. But we really tailored each asset to each environment. And we also honed in on environments where we knew that we would find younger audiences where they were over-indexing and that really resonated with them. Places like TikTok, YouTube. And we also heavied up in key areas of interest, finding cat owners who also love music, boy bands, NSYNC, everyone who we thought that would be really relevant for this. We also took it a step further and we created a duet challenge on TikTok, which was really fun, and JC was participated in that as well. So we used influencers that were also cat parents, or that really fed into like the nostalgia, have a lot of content focusing on that, to drive reach for the duet, but also to inspire users to duet their own or interact with the content. So we have some examples on the next slide of that. We have both a duet and just an influencer video that they created as well.
So the first one's from Kate Steinberg. If you know of her, she is definitely a content creator that specializes in 90s and like Y2K niche. She has a very large wardrobe of like Hollister and and like Abercrombie clothing that you're like, how? But she's also a cat owner, so her and her cat Lincoln put together a really fun, creative, playing on that boy band nostalgia.
Meow, 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 meow.
And then we worked with creator Kurt Tochi. He's a proud cat parent. He loves gaming. He's really big into Disney. And he's a cat dad too. So it shows the variety of people that were reaching in this. And he participated in the duet challenge and got to sing with JC.
JC here, my buddy Tyler Snuggles from the Tabby 5. So they're looking for a new singer. Are you interested?
Yeah.
Duet with us.
Let's go.
Meow, 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 meow.
Meow.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.
So that was really fun. We also had Drew Lachey and Tim, what's his last name? Tim Simmons, maybe? I apologize, I'm blanking on his last name, but they're from 98 Degrees, and they did a three-way duet too, which was fun in the 90s. Megan and me was like pinching myself that I was giving feedback to boy banders I loved growing up.
And spoiler alert, everyone loved the creative as much as you guys did. We had total awareness for the brand and for our wet food. We had lifts there. We also had a huge lift in ad recall as well. Consumers also loved JC. Our social video view-through rate was 2 times above benchmark. We got best-in-class lifts on YouTube, including a 300% lift in brand searches. Our Meow Mix duet on TikTok got over 10 million views, and we also really resonated with younger consumers as we saw a 10 to 20% increase of Gen Z and millennial social followers.
And in addition to all this fantastic results in terms of performance from a TV and social perspective, there was a really great earn component to this as well. And after, post-launch effects that we saw. So we had over 2 billion earned impressions from launching this campaign with JC. We pulsed 3 different rounds of interviews. So while we were at the shoot, he did some interviews with Billboard and a couple of other music genres to talk about what he's been up to musically. He's writing Broadway shows right now, I guess, and working with artists like Liam Payne from One Direction on new songs. So he spoke a little bit to that, but also talked about why he's working with Meow Mix. Then when we launched the campaign, did another round of interviews and had great results. And then we launched this campaign in July of last year. And shortly thereafter, NSYNC reunited for the movie Trolls. They were on the VMAs. It was a very big cultural moment. And a lot of people on TikTok, on Instagram were like, this has to be something else. Like, JC is not just doing this commercial for the sake of doing a commercial. They have to be reuniting. They have to be doing a tour. So there was like a ton of swirl around what's going on. And that really benefited our brand because JC hasn't been in the market really since the last couple of years and since his solo album. So we saw a 10% lift in earned impressions after they reunited at the VMAs. Their song for the Trolls came out, which was fantastic. And it also allowed us to have increased engagement reach and other digital signals boost the campaign further after the VMA launch. So if you did it, you would see a bunch of stuff about the song he just did with Liam. But for a while, if you searched what's JC been up to, what's going on with JC on Google, there would be a ton of content about our campaign. And then we saw a ton of engagement and increase in views of our social content after this fact too, because as Britt mentioned, what are people doing when they're watching things? They're searching. So when he came out on the VMA set, like, people hadn't seen him in so long, and they're like, and he had flowy hair, he had this blue suit on, so they're like, well, what is going on? And so it was really great for us to see that increase in engagement and awareness, and helped boost all of that success as well. And it was just fun to be in the comments and helping fuel the conspiracy theories, even though, they finally reunited this past week. We were not invited, but sadly, but we're glad they're back together. So yeah, that is it. Short and sweet, but
Yeah,
hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right, that's awesome, you guys. Great way to start our morning too, with all the little cat videos. Do we have any questions for these guys?
I'm so sorry. Hi, I'm Rosa Alonso from ARP Media Advertising Network. Did you see a lift in sales for both wet and dry food? Because obviously the brand crosses both.
Yeah, that's a great question. Some of that data is still coming in, as some retailers have different lag times, but I think we've seen definitely an increase in the halo effect onto our dry food. And then our wet food business, is still steadily growing, but it is a very competitive market. We had such low awareness that it's taking some time, but we're hopeful with the results that we've been seeing.
Anyone else? I actually was curious because I know we just talked about it a little bit earlier. Because you're targeting the Gen Z, the younger audiences, but even as you mentioned, the millennials, the older audience, you don't want to alienate. So when you're doing this, was it I guess the nostalgia factor, was that part of that to keep that audience, or did you have to do anything strategically different to maintain that without, and then also still bring in these new younger audience to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, obviously JC resonates with millennials and even some of the Gen X audiences that grew up with New Kids on the Block and a variety of boy bands. So we did see positive engagement from that audience and that age range, I would say. It's also interesting just because, with the changes in cat ownership, older generations aren't necessarily owning cats as quickly. So or as often, I should say. Sorry, it's early still. So it wasn't as huge of a concern for us, but I think just having the jingle that is iconic, even though it is remixed, still resonates with those consumers. Yeah, we haven't seen too much of a drop off from those audiences.
All right. Well, Megan, Leyna, thank you so much. You guys were awesome.